What a busy day it's been. I don't think I've been to a meat buyers event that's been so busy, Gillian, so that can only be a good thing. Collaboration and networking clearly is the way forward, and I'm here this afternoon to tell you a little bit about the work of the Base Scotland network and Base UK in a kind of wider context. So, Base, what is Base? What do they do? Our purpose is to support, promote and develop the principles and provision of supported employment, enabling disabled or disadvantaged people to achieve their individual goals and ambitions. So that's the kind of primary focus, although the network is far broader than that. In Scotland, we probably have about 250 kind of network partners, and you can see there on the slide the supported employment model that is utilised to support disabled people on a unique journey: client engagement, vocational profiling, employer engagement, job matching and supporting career development is the five-stage model that the network use primarily. So, Base Network membership, to give you an idea of the scale and the size and the reach. So, national footprint across the UK. We support Scottish Government and UK Government policy intents, primarily around employability and obviously for the purposes of today, sustainable procurement duties. And they are underpinned by a number of specialist supported business frameworks. Currently, and the slide is slightly needing updated, currently there's 250 members across the UK, plus associate members. They represent thousands, if not tens of thousands, of disabled or disadvantaged people to achieve individual goals and ambitions on a daily basis. To give you an idea of the kind of size and scale of the Base network, the largest parent company turns over just under £1 billion to specialist community services that turn over around £200,000 per annum. So quite a broad scale and quite a broad reach. We work with thousands of employers across the UK, supporting them to obviously employ disabled people, but also navigate HR practices when it comes to the recruitment of disabled people. Areas like gender equality and that type of thing are really, really sensitive and really complex to navigate, and the Base has that experience and network to be able to support employers to do that. Members deliver both Scottish and UK Government's national employability provision. So in Scotland, the network delivers Fair Start Scotland. So one of the prime providers there who are part of the Base network is an organisation called People Plus. So I'd be working and having a look at their website and see what they do and see if they can be supportive of you on your journey going forward. They are also one of the largest independent prison providers of education in the UK, where they work with the Ministry of Justice, for example, to create opportunities for people who are in the care of the justice system and looking at a more positive route out of prisons and back to their communities in a whole rehabilitation journey. The next slide that you see here is some of the current work that the Base NEC are doing with some large-scale employers round about developing more inclusive recruitment practices when it comes to employing disabled or disadvantaged people as part of the workforce. So a couple of organisations that we're currently supporting and working with at the moment are Coca-Cola and the Hilton Group, two examples, who are really trying to have a more inclusive recruitment process to ensure that everybody that wants to work gets the opportunity to do so. That work has been going on for about 18 months and we're starting to see some of the tangible outputs from that engagement. So, community wealth building, which is a theme obviously we've heard quite a lot about this morning, and what does that really mean? It's one thing having a policy intent and the straplines, but what does that really, how does that translate into tangible outputs? So, the current work that Base is involved in at the moment, BASE is a key stakeholder to facilitating the understanding of the supported business landscape across Scotland. To be honest with you, it's probably in the UK, but for the purposes of this, Scotland. We work with central government procurement, Scotland Excel, NHS national and local procurement, Transport Scotland, Scottish Prison Service, Social Security Scotland, Supplier Development Programme, and we have a national reach across Scotland and beyond. And what that translates into, that every time public procurement commission an opportunity, we try to look to see where we can embed some of the supported businesses, social firms, into the supply chain offer when they're purchasing goods and services, which in turn then allows them to protect disabled workers' jobs, but lay a platform to employ more disabled people. And I'll come on to that a bit later. One of the other projects that we're currently working on, we've been involved for about the last 14 months, is supporting central government procurement with the development of the construction frameworks for Scotland. And again, that's about engagement under community wealth building and sustainable procurement duties, where the commissioners, as part of the commissioning exercise, are going to put quite a detailed emphasis on engagement under community wealth building and engaging with supported businesses under sustainable procurement duties as part of the wider offer. In terms of the private sector, in terms of construction and infrastructure opportunities, we're currently working with Scottish Prison Service procurement, with new build prisons, HMP Glasgow, HMP Highland, and originally HMP Stirling, which was the replacement to the new women's facility at Cotton Vale in Stirling. And I'll tell you a wee bit about some of the outputs for that engagement. We are the co-founders of the Scottish Prison Service Procurement First Social Value Strategic Group, established to develop opportunities under the HMP Glasgow bid. So, as many of you will know in the room from Scotland, we have Barlinnie Prison, which is obviously the large maximum security prison in Glasgow. It was built back in 1870, and Scottish Government and SPS have taken the decision to build a new modern facility, which will be called HMP Glasgow. And there's a group set up there to manage the successful construction company, who's Kerr Construction. And that social value group will work for about 4 years on developing social outputs aligned to the build. It'll be about creating jobs, it'll be about creating employment opportunities for disabled or disadvantaged people, training opportunities, and there's a whole legacy that's going to be left with a modern build prison in Glasgow, in the community in Glasgow, which should contribute to reducing the reoffending behaviours and part of a whole rehabilitation programme. BASE Network, Scottish Government's national employability offer in Scotland, Fair Start Scotland. So the BASE Network in Scotland deliver the national employability provision. HIT is due to be replaced by a successor programme in 2024, which is quite a worrying time for the network, because the primary function is to support disabled and disadvantaged people as part of that national offer, with the ambition of halving the disability employment gap or no one left behind. So it's fair to say, without using the word COVID, that COVID clearly had a big impact in people's lives. Some in the worst cases possible, others give people a new sense of hope and new ambition in what they can do next with their lives. So it's quite a concerning time at the moment, where we need more clarity and more information from Scottish Government on the future of the national employability offer for Scotland. We are BASE, we're the co-founders of the first supported business frameworks in Scotland, which were developed back in 2012 with the Deputy First Minister of Scotland at that time. And this was Scottish Government's response to Westminster Government DWP closure of the Remploy supported businesses across the UK, where about 2,500 disabled workers lost their jobs. So they're still in existence today. They're going to be replaced directly by a successor framework. I think it's called DPS, Dynamic Purchasing System, which you all know about, but it's going to be specifically around about community wealth building and supported businesses. And my understanding for the latest update I got from the commissioners literally about an hour ago is that they're on track to launch that in July, which will be a whole media and marketing campaign attached to that to promote it. And it will be advertised on Public Contracts Scotland. I'm quite sure, Gillian, you would be promoting that on the Supplier Development Programme. So a fantastic focal point for organisations who want to bid for contracts, but who also want to leave a legacy in their community for local people. We're co-founders of the first private sector supported procurement group for adults, and I mentioned earlier about HMP Stirling, and that's a partnership between Scottish Prison Service Procurement, Morrison Construction, Tier 1 construction company and base, and I'll condense a 2-year model. Scottish Prison Service commissioned the build, Morrison Construction was successful. They commissioned Base, who brought key supported businesses, social firms, social enterprise to the table, onboarded them onto the Morrison Construction supply chain, and then Morrison Construction purchased their goods and services from Morrison Construction. The two outputs for that, first it generated £300,000 of spend, but more importantly, it protected disabled workers' jobs. And what I mean by that was the organisations that they engaged with were organisations primarily who employed adults with a learning disability. And as you'll know probably in the room, the employment rate for an adult with a learning disability is shockingly low and has been for a long time. The other organisation provided employment opportunities for veterans, and the third organisation provided employment opportunities for people leaving the care of Scottish Prison Service who were trained up and delivered some of the in-house catering and that type of thing. So that was almost like that strapline, the power of procurement, sustainable procurement duties, actually coming full circle from the Commissioner to the measured social outputs. And that model was successful, winning one of the Scottish Government's Go Awards under social value, and it's shortlisted for one of the national Go Awards, which is in a couple of weeks, across the UK, in the social value initiative of the year. So it'll be interesting to see how successful or not it might well be. But again, it keeps a focal point on the agenda and the areas of interest, obviously creating employment opportunities for disabled people, using the power of procurement and sustainable procurement duties. All of the above contributes to sustainable procurement duties, annual procurement reporting, community wealth building, halving the disability employment gap, and no one left behind. So you can see the policy expectations that were strategies plugged into. So we'll make it a bit lighter. Up here are images of people within the base network like us who have all got jobs. They've engaged with the base network and those specialist providers across the UK. They've all got jobs and proud to have their jobs. Some people, as we know, we take our jobs for granted. Others, we moan and whinge about our jobs. And other people absolutely love being employed and really love going in every day and contributing. And you can imagine the impact that COVID has had on us all and how that's really affected people who are disabled or disadvantaged, especially when it comes to mental health. And I like the part at the side. All these people have paid jobs, but the most important line is below it. And he wants one when he grows up. That's a nice ambition, isn't it? So we all have an ambition to work, and if you're able-bodied, and listen, we all have our concerns and fears in life, but if you're able-bodied, with the right help, right support, you can target an area that you would like to work in and hopefully be successful in that particular career. If you have a disability, you've got additional areas that you need to work round about which make it slightly harder or sometimes impossible. And if you're plugged into the right network with the right organisations and the right people, you can create those opportunities for people. And he wants one when he grows up. That's the message to keep in the back of your mind. And a wee bit of thought for the day, because it's been a very busy day. Thought for the day. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Now, it's very obvious for the people waiting to do that, or the animals, or the organisation, whatever it may well be, it's going to mean something different to each individual. And at the bottom, you see, to treat people equally, you have to treat people differently. And what I mean by that is each person in this room, the whole room and beyond, is a person, and they have a unique set of circumstances and expectations, and each one of them have to be managed and delivered for that particular person as part of a bigger collective. So I thought that was quite a good message to leave you with. Scotland at its best. I think over the last 3 years, if we hear that word again, what was it again? Unprecedented and resilience and that type of stuff. I think COVID and lockdown in the world that we're currently facing at the moment, I think we all fully understand what unprecedented and resilience means for us individually and as our families and in the communities. And I think we've all been tested like never before. And I think we will continue to be tested for quite a significant time ahead. And being in part of a network that employs disabled people, sometimes it's twice as hard. And this is where sustainable procurement duties and being plugged into that whole world can really create those opportunities and contribute to their policy intents. Sustainable procurement duties and supported employment are evidence-based models to support disabled or disadvantaged people to achieve individual goals and ambitions. As human beings, we all need a hand up every now and again. Sometimes it's really, really hard to ask for help, to ask for support, regardless of who you are. But if you plug in with the right people that are tried and trusted, and they only have your best interests at heart, they can only take you on a positive journey, probably the time of the greatest need that you have. Sustainable procurement duties and supported employment are the foundation of what we do in Scotland. And my plea would be to commissioners and to suppliers would be, you can be part of this timely journey and change a disabled person's life for the better at our time of greatest need. The responsibility sits with us all. Thank you.